I am Bahaudin Mujtaba, and today we're going to talk about gaining competitiveness through sustainability, globalization, and technology. A majority of our time we'll spend obviously talking about sustainability because it is one of the most important ways nowadays that every operation has to work on in order to make sure their businesses, their organizations are sustainable, both short-term as well as long-term, the focus being more on long-term. When we're talking about competing through sustainability, let us begin with obviously the basics. What does sustainability really mean? Sustainability relates to social responsibility, but more specifically, sustainability refers to a company's ability to meet its needs without sacrificing the ability of the future generations to meet their needs. So that relates to obviously our future employees, workers, as well as our children and grandchildren. In a way, sustainability includes the ability to deal with economic as well as social changes. Sustainability is about practicing environmental responsibility. It's about engaging in responsible and ethical business practices. Sustainability is about providing high quality products and services in such a way where we leave very little footprint on our society. It's about putting in place methods to determine if the company is meeting its stakeholders' needs in a responsible manner. When it comes to competitive challenges that are influencing human resources in the modern times, we need to also focus on dealing with the workforce and employment implications of the economy. So this means, do we have the skills that are demanded for jobs which are changing on a regular basis? It means remaining competitive in a global economy that requires demanding work hours and changes in traditional employment patterns. HR practices that enhance labor productivity can include improving the design of your current workplace, in the use of technology throughout your operations, both nationally as well as across borders. It means upskilling employees through regular and continuous training to help them be prepared for the next challenge that they're going to face in their jobs. It means managing performance and compensation to incentivize and motivate workers to work smarter, as well as obviously harder, but the focus should be on first effectiveness, doing the right things, and then also efficiency, doing the right things right. It also means raising compensation in focusing on the learning of both individuals, teams, and obviously on the organization on a continuous basis. Keep in mind that today's labor force have certain employment characteristics. For example, population is the most important factor in determining the size and composition of the labor force. Growth is oftentimes slowing. Labor force is aging. Diversity is increasing in every sector of our industries. Now, we also know that the service sector is growing throughout the world. Education is important to meet the job requirements of all your customers currently and obviously in the future. Education is important to meet job requirements. There's also oftentimes a shortage of qualified candidates to fulfill a very enriching jobs that will be coming in the years to come. Competitiveness in human resource management means understanding and enhancing the value placed on intangible assets in human capital. There are three types of assets we need to be concerned about. Financial assets, which can include cash and securities. Physical assets, which can include property, plant, as well as our equipments that we use to get our jobs done. And then there are intangible assets, which can include human capital, customer capital, social capital, and intellectual capital. These intangible assets are equally or even more valuable than financial and physical assets, but they're often very difficult to duplicate or imitate by your competitors. So having obviously a competitive advantage through the human resources or the human capital is probably the most sustainable form of competitiveness asset. When it comes to human capital, keep in mind that there's tacit knowledge, education, work-related know-how, skills, and also work-related competence that we need to have and acquire and enhance on a regular basis. When it comes to customer capital examples, it also means customer relationships, developing brands that are hopefully valuable in the minds of customers. It means customer loyalty and also being focused on various distribution channels to get to the customer as quickly as possible. Social capital examples means having a corporate culture that is productive, that's efficient, that is ethical, that is moral. Having a management philosophy that drives everybody in the right direction. Having management practices that drive employees to the workplace every morning looking forward to their jobs. It means informal networking systems being in place and continuous coaching and mentoring between managers and employees on a regular basis. Intellectual capital examples could include, for example, patents, copyrights, trade secrets, as well as obviously intellectual property that is owned by the organization. Understanding and enhancing the value placed on intangible assets in human capital means you have to be focused on knowledge workers, because they contribute to specialized knowledge that we all need in our organizations in order for them to be competitive. Knowledge workers share knowledge and collaborate on solutions to deal with complex difficulties that all organizations are likely to face sooner or later. To be competitive, we need to emphasize empowerment and continuous learning. This means give employees responsibility and authority for their jobs. Hold them accountable. Employees share in rewards and losses. This is what empowerment and continuous learning means. It also means obviously having an organization that is learning on a continuous basis. So what is a learning organization? As you can see here, a learning organization embraces a culture of lifelong learning, which enables employees to continually acquire and share knowledge. A learning organization is one where people adapt to change quickly. Remember that change is inevitable. We cannot stop it. So employees in a learning organization are expected to take more responsibility for their own careers. This becomes a partnership between the employee and manager. Change refers to the adoption of new ideas or behaviors by a company. Technological advances, changes in the workforce or government regulations, globalization, and new competitors are among the many factors that require companies to change on a regular basis. If you don't change, you're not improving. What is interesting is that if you don't change, you're not staying in the same place. You're actually getting behind because your competitors will be moving ahead of you. In a competitive environment of human resources, we need to maximize employee engagement. People who are engaged are passionate about their work. They're committed to the company and the overall mission that you as a manager might have for a department or you might have for the organization. They tend to work hard and contribute. So employees who are engaged obviously are much more effective than those who simply sit by and watch everybody else work. Employee engagement refers to the degree to which employees are fully involved in their work and the strength of their commitment to their job in the company. You, as an immediate supervisor, make a huge difference in the engagement of employees. Some of the common themes of employee engagement include the following. For example, pride in the employer, satisfaction with the employer, satisfaction with the job, opportunity to perform challenging work, recognition and positive feedback, very important. Personal support from the manager, effort above and beyond that is required by their job descriptions. They understand the link between their job in the company's mission, where the company is willing to go or prepared to go in the coming years. People who are engaged are good prospects for future growth of the company. People who are engaged have intention to stay with the company as long as obviously their company, and more specifically their immediate managers, treat them fairly and equitably. Employee engagement is influenced by how managers treat employees, as well as the human resource practices such as recruiting, selection, training and development, performance management, the work design overall, and how they are getting paid and how they feel about their pay compared to others, both within the company as well as outside the company. Companies should measure employee engagement levels with attitudinal or opinion surveys on a regular basis. Although the types of questions asked on these surveys vary from company to company, research suggests that questions generally measure these common themes that we just talked about. Competitiveness in today's environment means managing the talent of your organization effectively. It means acquiring good, competent, and motivated employees and assessing them on a regular basis. It means providing learning and development opportunities for each and every employee. Generally speaking, talent management, as you can see, refers to the systematic, planned, strategic effort by a company to use bundles of human resource management practices, which can include acquiring and assessing employees, learning and development, performance management, and compensation, to attract, to retain, to develop, and to motivate highly skilled employees in every single position. Competitiveness in human resource management means considering non-traditional employment in the gig economy. It's estimated that about 20 to 35% of the total US workforce is non-traditional. Workers set their own schedule and do not work for a company in non-traditional employment or in the gig economy. The non-traditional employment offers flexibility for the mothers, for the fathers who have to take care of their children, or elderly parents. People who have retired but want to continue to work, at least on a flexible schedule, to make sure their skills, their knowledge are still being used and benefiting companies in a socially responsible way. Non-traditional employment includes the use of independent contractors, freelancers, on-call workers, temporary workers, and contract company workers. Companies that rely primarily on non-traditional employment to meet service and product demands are competing in what is now known as the gig economy. You need to provide flexibility to help employees meet work and life demands. Statistics show that 46% of employees work more than 45 hours per week in the United States. So we know that 46% of employees work more than 45 hours per week. That's a lot of time to be in the workplace. And about 50% of employees in the US believe that they have flexibility they need to successfully manage their work and personal or family lives. That is not good. We need to increase the level of flexibility. So the solution for having a productive workforce or a flexible workforce is to provide flexible work schedules, provide work at home arrangements, protect employees' free time, and more productively using the employees' work time when they come to work every single day. We need to meet the needs of shareholders, stockholders, customers, employees, and community. Demonstrate performance to stakeholders using the balance scorecard. It means being customer focused, improving quality, emphasizing teamwork, reducing new product and service development times, managing our organizations in a sustainable way for the long term. So the balance scorecard gives managers an indication of the performance of a company based on the degree to which stakeholders' needs are satisfied. Balance scorecard depicts the company from the perspective of both internal as well as external customers, employees, and shareholders. You can ask many questions in a balanced scorecard. How do customers see us? What must we excel at in order to be competitive and stay in business in the long term? Can we continue to improve and create value for our customers? And how do we look to our shareholders? In today's environment, the general public and shareholders demand that companies be more socially, ethically, and environmentally responsible. Social responsibility helps to protect the planet, which can obviously save you money as well. So social responsibility is about sustainability, which is a very important part of every company's business strategy. HR competitiveness requires that you be committed to total quality management. Total quality management has several core values. Number one, methods and processes are usually designed to meet internal and external customers' needs in the most efficient way possible. In a total quality management program, every employee should receive training on what the organization means by quality and how we can continuously improve the quality of our products and services. Number three, we need to promote cooperation with vendors, suppliers, and customers who are part of this value chain in producing and obviously consuming our products. Managers should measure progress with feedback based on data in any good total quality management program. Remember, finally, that quality is designed into a product or service so that errors are prevented rather than being detected and corrected. So that's a very important component of a good total quality management program. The emphasis on quality is seen from many perspectives. You can look at it from the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award, which promotes quality awareness to recognize quality achievements and to publicize successful quality strategies all around the globe. The categories of examination can include leadership, measurement, analysis and knowledge, strategic planning, workforce operations, customers focus, and design improvement. We can also see this from ISO 9000. Over 2,000 quality standards have been adopted worldwide. Another one that you might be familiar with is the Six Sigma process system of measuring, analyzing, improving, and controlling processes once they meet at least a minimum quality standard. You have also heard of lean thinking, which is a way to do more with less effort, with less time, less equipment, and obviously less space, but still provide customers with what they need and want. Competitiveness today requires valuing diversity. You have the traditionalist and the silent generation who are basically now over 73, 74 years of age. Some of them are still working in the workforce on a part-time or in some cases on a full-time basis based on their desires and obviously pleasure. We have the baby boomers who were born between 1946 and around 1964. So they tend to be anywhere between 54 to about 72, 73 years of age nowadays. You have the Generation X, people who were born around 1965 to 1980. They tend to be about 38, 39 years of age to about 53, 54. You also have the millennials, known as the Generation Y or eco-boomers. Millennial generation or Generation Y or eco-boomers, people who were born around 1981 to about 1995. They tend to be about 23, 24 to about 37, 38 years of age nowadays. Finally, you have the Generation Z. These are individuals who were born around 1996 and beyond. So they seem to be about 21, 22, 23, 24 years of age in your workforce. The U.S. workforce in 2024 will not be what it is today, and that just a few years from now. It's estimated about 77% of our workforce in 2024 will be white, about 13% will be African American, About 6% will be Asian, and the other 4% will comprise of other groups in the United States. So we need to manage cultural diversity, which can provide a competitive advantage for a company. Think about cost argument, employee attraction and retention argument, and marketing argument. In terms of cost argument, as organizations become more diverse, the cost of a poor job in integrating workers will increase. Those who handle this well will create cost advantages over those who do not. In terms of employee attraction and retention argument, remember that companies develop reputations on favorability as prospective employers for women and ethnic minorities. Those with the best reputation for managing diversity will win the competition for talent. As the labor pool shrinks and changes composition, this competitive advantage will become increasingly more important in the workplace. In terms of marketing argument, the insight and cultural sensitivity that diverse employees bring to the marketing efforts should help the company enter new markets around the globe and develop products and services for diverse populations. There's also the creativity argument, which says that diversity of perspectives and less emphasis on conformity to norms of the past improves the level of creativity in any workplace. And we all need more creativity, obviously. There's the problem-solving argument, which states that heterogeneity in decisions in problem-solving groups potentially produces better decisions through a wider range of perspectives and more thorough critical analysis of issues. Finally, there's the system flexibility argument, which says that greater flexibility to react to changes in customer preferences and taste. For example, our reactions to changes should be faster and hopefully more efficient. So what are some principles of ethical companies? Ethical companies emphasize mutual benefit in customer, vendor, client, and community relationships. In ethical companies, employees take responsibility for their actions and the actions of the organization. There's a sense of purpose and vision which is valued and used by employees in their work. Ethical companies emphasize fairness and treatment of all employees, customers, and vendors and clients. When it comes to ethical issues, pay attention to the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002, which sets strict rules for corporate behavior and sets heavy fines in prison terms for non-compliance. So if you're a high-level executive, you need to even pay closer attention to make sure your organization meets the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002, or otherwise known as SOX. SOX imposes criminal penalties for corporate governing and accounting lapses, including retaliation against whistleblowers, reporting violation of Security and Exchange Commission rules. Human resource managers must satisfy at least 3 basic standards for their practices to be considered ethical. Number 1, human resource management practices must result in the greatest good for the largest number of people, otherwise known as the utilitarianism view of ethics. Number 2, employment practices must respect the basic human rights of privacy, due process, consent, and free speech by employees. Number 3, managers must treat employees and customers equitably and fairly in all of their dealings. In today's competitive environment of human resource management, we need to compete through globalization. In other words, we need to develop multicultural or multinational expatriates. Globalization also means entering international markets, which can involve exporting products beyond your borders, building manufacturing facilities or service centers in other countries, entering new alliances with foreign organizations and even sometimes foreign governments, and finally engaging in e-commerce, which probably is one of the quickest ways to become a global organization. Finally, when it comes to human resources and competitiveness in the modern workplace, we need to compete through effective use of technology. It means consider application of social networking, artificial intelligence, and robotics. Social networking refers to websites such as Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and wikis and blogs that facilitate interaction between people and usually around certain shared interests. Use human resource information systems, mobile devices, cloud computing, and HR dashboards to obviously stay ahead and to keep everybody abreast of where the organization is going and obviously the milestones that you have already achieved. Consider high performance work systems in virtual teams being used on a regular basis in your organization. In summary, let us mention the dimensions of HRM practices which contribute to company competitiveness. Includes managing human resources environment, acquiring and preparing human resources, assessment and development of human resources, and obviously compensating human resources in a fair and equitable manner on a regular basis. That, my friends, will lead to competitiveness in a sustainable way in today's national and global work environment.